To continue our previous discussion, let us proceed to Chapter 4, Formation. Joining groups. People differ from each other in many ways, in personality, motivations, and past experiences. And these differences predispose some people to join groups and others to remain apart. Personality traits is a relatively stable, consistent, and enduring internal characteristic that is inferred from a pattern of behaviors, attitudes, feelings, and habits in the individuals. Personality is the configuration of distinctive but enduring dispositional characteristics, including traits, temperament, and values characterize an individual's responses across situations. The five-factor model, a conceptual model of the primary dimension that structures individual differences in personality. The five dimensions are extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience. Different theories sometimes use different labels. People vary on the five fundamental traits of personality: extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness to experience exhibit consistent difference across diverse time and situation. The five-factor model of personality provides one explanation for idiosyncratic consistencies in individuals' thought, feelings, and actions over time. Extroversion. It includes engagement in interest and social interactions, including friendliness, gregariousness, assertiveness, activity, excitement seeking, and cheerfulness. Agreeableness is being cooperative orientation to others, including acceptance, frankness, compassion, congeniality, modesty, and sympathy. Conscientiousness is persistence on the pursuit of tasks, including self-confidence, orderliness, meeting of obligations, achievement striving, self-regulation, and measured responding. Neuroticism is strong emotional proclivities, including anxiety, hostility, negative effect, shyness, lack of impulse control, and reactivity to stressors. Openness to experience is the active pursuit of intellectually and aesthetically stimulating experiences, including imagination, fantasy, appreciation of art, openness to emotions and experiences, curiosity, and cognitive flexibility. This theory assumes that people differ from one another in many ways, but much of this variability is the observable manifestation of these five basic dimensions. Anxiety and attachment. Just as personality traits may push people toward groups, other personal qualities may push them away from groups. Some people are shy, socially anxious, or just less interested in being connected to other people and to group. Shyness is the dispositional tendency to feel uneasy, uncomfortable, and awkward in response to actual or anticipated social interactions. Shy people do not join groups or as readily as others, and they do not find groups activities to be as enjoyable. Most people who are shy manage to cope with nervousness they feel when in groups. Shy individuals often form associations with other shy individuals, and these groups adopt interaction styles and activities that better suit the social tendencies of their members. Social anxiety. Social anxiety sets in when people want to make a good impression, but they do not think that their attempts to establish a relationship will succeed. The feeling of social anxiety is apprehension and embarrassment experience when anticipating or actually interacting with other people. Because of these pessimistic expectations, when these individuals interact with other people, they suffer disabling emotional, psychological, and behavioral side effects. They become physiologically aroused to the point that their pulse races, they blush and perspire, their hand may tremble, and their voice quivers when they speak. Socially anxious people, even when they join groups, do not actively participate. They can be identified by their silence, downcast eyes, and low speaking voices. Experience sampling. It is a research method that asks participants to record the thoughts, emotions, or behaviors at the time that they are experiencing them rather than at later time or date. In some cases, participants make their entries when they are signaled by researchers using electronic pagers, personal data assistants or PDAs, or similar devices. Social anxiety disorder or social phobia is a persistent and pervasive pattern of overwhelming anxiety and self-consciousness experienced when anticipating or actually interacting with other people. Attachment style is one's a characteristic approach to relationships with other people. The basic style includes secure, preoccupied, fearful, and dismissing, as defined by the dimension of anxiety and avoidance. Need for affiliation. Express a stronger desire to be with other people. They seem happier when they are with people, and they are more disturbed by unpleasant interactions with others. Need for affiliation is motivating state of tension that can be relieved by joining with other people, which frequently includes concern about winning the approval of other people. Individuals who are high in the need of affiliation are drawn to groups, but some research suggests that they are also more anxious when they confront social situations, perhaps because they fear rejection. Need for intimacy. Prefers to join with others. Such individuals, however, seek close, warm relations and are more likely to express caring and concern for others. Need for intimacy are those people that do not fear rejection, but instead are more focused on friendship, camaraderie, reciprocity, and mutual help. The need for power. It is a motivating state of tension that can be relieved by gaining control over other people and one's environment. Individuals who are high in the need of power or power motive exhibits an elevated desire to maintain and enhance their capacity to influence other people. They would prefer to be in positions of authority where they can make decisions that impact others. Fundamental interpersonal relationships, developed by Wilhelm Schutz, it is the theory of group formation and development that emphasizes compatibility among three basic social motives. It is inclusion, control, and affection. Inclusion refers to people desires to join with others, but also their need to be accepted by those others. Affection is a desire to like others as well as a desire to be liked by them. Control includes the need to be dominated, the need to dominate others, but also the willingness to let others be dominant. The Feyerabee scale measure both the need to express and the need to receive inclusion, affection, and control, as you can see on the table that is presented. Man and woman group. Studies find that men and women differ in their tendency to join groups, but the differences are not great in magnitude. Women tend to be somewhat more extroverted and agreeable than men, and these differences are pronounced in economically developed nations. Women remember more details about their relationships than do men, and they more accurately recount events that occurred in their social networks. Women are in general higher in relationality. That is, their values, attitudes, and outlooks emphasizes and facilitate establishing and maintaining connections to others. Relationality is the degree to which one's value, attitudes, and outlook emphasizes and facilitate establishing and maintaining connection to others. Attitudes and experience expectations. Beliefs of groups scale to measure people's preference for taking part in groups, expectations about how hard people works in groups, and predictions of the positive and negative effect groups will have on performance. Experience in groups is one's previous experience in groups, whether good or bad, influence one's interest in joining groups in the future. College students who receive low scores on assessment based on team learning activities evaluate group work more negatively than students who get higher grades. Richard Moreland and John Levine, they are social psychologists that studies the impact of expectations on students' decisions to join a group when they go to college. They identify those students who had positive experiences in their high school groups, and they rated their high school groups as both important and enjoyable. Collaborative circles. Collaborative circles are relatively small groups of peers who work together for an extended period of time. They exchange ideas for commentary and critique and developing a shared conception of what their methods and goals should be. Social movement is deliberate, sustained, and organized group of individuals seeking change or resisting a change in social system. Movements are sustained by individuals who may share a common outlook on issues, are members of identifiable social groups or categories, but not by business, political organizations, or government. So let us now proceed to our next topic. Affiliation is a gathering together of individuals, typically members of the same species, in one location. Also, a formalized relationship as when an individual is said to be affiliated with a group or organization. The figure below interprets the theory of social comparison that assumes people, when facing ambiguous situations, seek out others so they can compare other people's reactions and interpretation to their own. Social comparison. It is the process of constructing personal qualities and outcome, including beliefs, attitudes, values, abilities, accomplishments, and experiences to those of other people. Social comparison, according social psychologist Leon Festinger, maintained that people often rely on others for information about themselves and the environment. Physical reality is a reliable guide in many cases, but to validate social reality, people must compare their interpretations to those of other people. For example, when you compare yourself to your friends, you might feel that you are pretty physically fit. So, you might sign up for a marathon, believing that you have the ability to finish with no problem. But when the race day arrives, you might find yourself surrounded by people who are much more athletic than you. And then you will realize that your initial assessment of your abilities was overly optimistic. Misery loves compassion. Social psychologist Stanley Schachter believed that people finding themselves in such a predicament would choose to join with other people to gain the information they need to allay their anxiety. To test his idea, he recruited young women college students to meet at his laboratory. There they were greeted by a researcher who introduced himself as Dr. Gregor Zilstein from the Medical School's Department of Neurology and Psychiatry. In serious tone, he explained that he was studying the effects of electric shocks on human beings. In one condition, low anxiety, the room contained no electrical device. The experimenter explained that the shock would be so mild that they would resemble more tickle or tingle than anything unpleasant. Participants assigned to the high anxiety condition, however, faced a vast collection of electrical equipment and were informed that these shocks will hurt. They will be painful, but of course, they will do no permanent damage. The researchers then asked the participant if she wanted to wait for her turn alone or with others. Approximately 2/3 of the women in high anxiety condition choose to affiliate, whereas only third of the women in the low anxiety condition choose to wait with others. Scatcher's conclusion: misery loves companion. A similar preference for someone who had been there than that has been documented in patients who are waiting surgery. When given a choice, 60% of pre-surgery patients requested a roommate who has recovered from the same type of operation, whereas only 17% wanted miserable company. A roommate who was also about to undergo the operation. The patients also reported talking with their roommate about the operation more if their roommate had already had the operation and was recovering. Scatcher's second conclusion: misery doesn't just love any kind of company. It loves only miserable company. Misery loves miserable company, suggesting that people loves miserable company meant that they seek out those who face the same threat and so are knowledgeable. This study suggests that people are more interested in gaining clarifying information than in sharing the experience with someone, particularly when the situation is dangerous one and they can converse openly with other group members. Embarrassment misery avoids company. Even when people need information about a situation, they sometimes refrain from joining others because they do not wish to embarrass themselves. When alone, people might feel foolish if they do something silly, but when they are in group, foolishness turns into embarrassment. In some cases, this fear of embarrassment can be stronger than the need to understand what is happening, resulting in social inhibition instead of affiliation. Safety numbers. Humans are group-seeking animals, but their gregariousness becomes particularly robust under condition of stress. In times of trouble, such as illness, divorce, catastrophe, natural disaster, or personal loss, the people seek out friends and relatives. College students who are experiencing problems academically or socially spend between 28 and 35% of their time interacting with people they feel are supportive. Individuals experiencing work-related stress, such as fear of layoffs, time pressure, or inadequate supervision, cope by joining with co-workers. Group level responses to stress. Group level responses to stress. The two basic responses to stress, fight or flight, and tend and befriend, are both enhanced when people rely on resources made available by their group. As the figure suggested, affiliation with others plays a key role in both fight or flight and tend and befriend responses to stress. When members face an imminent threat, they can work together to fight against it. They can rally against attackers, organize a concerted response to a disaster, and so on. Groups also enhance survival as members escape. If escape routes are not restricted, the dispersion of a group can confuse attackers and increase the chance that all members of the group will escape unharmed. A group can also organize its escape from danger, with stronger members of the group helping less able members to reach safety. If in contrast the group faces a long-term threat, then the group may cope by increasing nurturing, protective, and supportive behaviors, which is tending, and by seeking out connection to other people, which is befriending. Social support. A sense of belonging, emotional support, advice, guidance, tangible assistance, and perspective provided by groups when members experience stress, daily hassle, and more significant life crises. Social support can take many forms, ranging from acceptance and inclusion to formation or of identity and purpose. Belonging. Groups let members know that they are valued members and reassure them that they are not alone in facing their problems. They meet members' need to feel included and accepted. Emotional supports. Group members express their caring, concern, and affection for one another. They minimize self-doubt, tension, and vulnerability while increasing self-esteem, resilience, and self-satisfaction. Members complement, encourage, and listen to one another. Informational support. Group provide members with useful information for solving problem making, decisions, and setting their goal. They offer advice, guidance, and suggestions. Instrumental support. Group offers tangible assistance to their members, as when they help each other with assigned tasks, loan money and materials to one another, or work collaboratively on shared tasks. Meaning, groups provide members with existential or spiritual support by allaying existential anxiety, reconfirming members' worldviews, and sharing faith and perspective. Affiliation and health. Stressful life circumstances leave people at risk for psychological and physical illness, but groups can serve as protective buffers against these negative consequences. For example, individuals trying to recover from a devastating crisis, example, the death of a spouse or child, who were more firmly embedded in social networks of friends, relatives, and neighbors, were less depressed than people who are not integrated into groups. Affiliation-related experiences may also recruit areas of brain that are part of the opioid and dopaminergic system. This system have been implicated in reward-based learning and positive emotional reactions, including happiness. These social neuroscience studies all suggested that there is health as well as safety in numbers. Social comparison and the self. Upward social comparison is selecting people who are superior to oneself or whose outcomes surpass one's own as target for social comparison. Downward social comparison is selecting people who are less well off as target for social comparisons, rather than individuals who are similar or superior to oneself or one's outcome. Self-evaluation maintenance is a theoretical analysis of social comparison processes that assumes that individuals maintain and enhance their self-esteem by associating with high-achieving individuals who excels in the areas that are not relevant to the individual's own sense of self-esteem, and avoiding association with high-achieving individuals who excels in areas that are important to the individual's sense of self-esteem. As the figure indicates, if the students thought that the task was important, they judged their performance to be superior to that of their close classmates. If the task was not important to them personally, they felt that they had performed relatively worse. Similarly, in a study of married couples, Tessers and his colleagues discovered that happy couples felt that it was more pleasant to be outdone by one's partner in an area that their partner valued, but to outperform the partner in an area that he or she did not value. And happy couples did not recognize the secret ingredient for marital bliss. Rating of oneself, a close classmate and distant classmate on tasks that are low and high in self-relevance. When students rated their own performance on a task they felt was important to them, they rated themselves as somewhat better than their close classmate and much better than the distant classmate. But students rated their friend more positively than themselves when the task had no implication for their self-worth. Students rated their own performance as superior to their friends when the task was relevant, but this tendency reversed for the low relevance tasks. Social comparison orientation is the dispositional tendency to compare oneself to others. Studies of newly formed teams suggest that members feel threatened by teammates who have superior abilities even if they had an opportunity to bond with their teammates before they start working together. Group members, to avoid the pain of social comparison, can turn against the highest performing members, the top puppies of their group, ostracizing them or criticizing them unfairly. Let us now proceed to our next topic, which is attraction. Attraction is often thought to be highly capricious and unpredictable social process that leads to transform your acquaintances into a friend. Also, Newcomb concluded that similarity in attitudes, particularly attitudes towards the self and toward other group members, is one of the most important determinants of attraction. The proximity principle. It is the tendency for individuals to form interpersonal relationship with those who are close by, also known as the principle of propinquity. The proximity principle suggests that people join groups that happen to be close by. The elaboration principle. The tendency for groups to expand in size as non-members become linked to a group member and thus become part of the group itself. This process is termed percolation in the network theory. Similarity principle. The tendency for individuals to seek out, affiliate with, or be attracted to an individual who is similar to them in some way. This tendency causes groups and other interpersonal aggregates to be homogeneous rather than diverse. Although these similarities often reflect agreements in attitudes, values, and beliefs, they are also based on demographic characteristics such as race, ethnicity, sex, and age. Homophily, love the same. It is a tendency for the members of the groups and other collectives to be similar to one another in same ways such as demographic backgrounds, attitudes, and values, generally expressed informally as bird of a feather flocks together. Homophily appears to be sustained by a group of psychological, sociological, and relational factors that combine to promote contacts between people who share similarities rather than differences. People who adopt the same values and attitudes reassure each other that their beliefs are accurate, and people find association with such people very rewarding. The complementary principle. It is a tendency for opposites to attract when the ways in which people are dissimilar are configurant in some way. Claude, for example, may enjoy leading groups, so he is not attracted to other individuals who also strive to take control of the group. Instead, he responds best to those who accept his guidance. Similarly, individuals who are forming a group may realize that the members' skills and abilities must complement each other if the group is to be successful. These cases are consistent with the complementarity principle, which suggests that people are attracted to those who possess characteristics that complement their own personal characteristic. Interchange compatibility exists when members have similar expectations about the group's intimacy, control, and exclusiveness. Interchange compatibility will be high, for example, if all members expect that their groups will be formally organized with minimal expressions of intimacy, but it will be low if some think that they can share their innermost feelings, whereas others want a more reverse exchange. Originator compatibility exists when people have the similar but complementary needs with regard to expressing and receiving control, inclusion, and affection. For example, originator compatibility would be high if a person with a high need to control the group joined a group whose members wanted a strong leader. Principle that liking tends to be mutual, give friendly advice, compliment us, or declare admiration, and usually respond by liking them in return. For example, the tendency for liking to be met with liking in return. When I like B, then B will be tended to like A. Negative reciprocity also occurs in groups for disliking someone in sure way to earn that person's consent. The Minimax Principle. The Minimax Principle, social exchange theory, offers one final and particularly important. People will be joining groups and remain in the groups that provides them with a maximum number of valued reward while incurring the minimum number of possible costs. A general preference for relationships and memberships that provide the maximum numbers of valued rewards and incur the fewest number of possible costs. As noted in Chapter 2, assumes that people are rational creatures who strive to minimize their trouble, worries, and losses, and instead of maximizing their positive outcomes, happiness, and rewards. The economics of membership. In many cases, people choose among the many groups that promote them a favorable cost ratio. According to social exchange theorists John Thibault and Harold Kelly, the decision to join is based on two factors: the comparison level and the comparison level for alternatives. Gangs are often characterized as disruptive, violent groups of delinquents who commit robberies, hijack cars, distributed drugs, murder, and generally lives or contend against legal authorities, and members may use violence to establish status and control in the group. Comparison level. It is the standard by which the individual evaluates the quality of any social relationship. In most cases, individuals whose prior relationships yielded positive rewards, few costs, will have higher CLs than those who experience fewer rewards and more costs in prior relationships. Comparison level is the standard by which individuals evaluate the desirability of group membership. The CL derives from the average of all outcomes known to the individuals and is usually strongly influenced by previous relationships. Comparison levels for alternative. Is the standard by which individuals evaluate the quality of other groups that they may join. CL out can be defined informally as the lowest level of outcomes a member will accept in the light of available alternative opportunities. And that is all for my discussion, and hope you did learn something about the Chapter 3 Inclusion and Identity, and also Chapter 4 Formation. Thank you for listening.